The good news is that the New York Rangers are in a position to steal at least a few headlines in New York. The bad news is that they're not really making the positive headlines that you'd hope for, as Alain Vigneault probably nods sadly at the phrase "no news is good news." With each loss, and Saturday's defeat against the Montreal Canadiens was another tough one, the speculation about Vigneault's job security continues to boil over. The New York Post's Larry Brooks penned a column with an ominous headline: Alain Vigneault may have one game left. Brooks provides some interesting perspective therein, speculating that Lindy Ruff would take over in the short term, while noting the Rangers' slow starts with amusing specificity. The Rangers have been outscored 30 in the first 200 of games, 51 in the first 362 in the first 483 in the first 6 minutes, 104 within the first 1,000 and 134 in the first 1,200 of the first 12 games. That is inexcusable. The Blueshirts have been chronically unengaged both mentally and physically coming out of the room for the drop of the first puck. If the athletes believe they are working hard enough, they are delusional. They are doing the minimum, and poorly, at that. It's actually an earlier piece from Brooks that might be the most fascinating to find the heart. Vigneault put himself in the shoes of now former Yankees manager Joe Girardi, and it felt a bit like he was going through therapy. Via Brooks, I can put myself in his shoes and really feel the pain he's going through, Vigneault said of Girardi on Friday. But one thing I understand is the business part of it. As much as I'd like to say I don't, I do. Yikes, that sure seems dismal. It's also understandable that Head feels some kinship to Girardi. Both have been able to enjoy success in the standings, even if their decisions are always under a microscope. Part of that is the nature of the beast while coaching in New York. Some of the criticisms are, of course, also valid. Hardball talk: what are the Yankees thinking letting Girardi go? This isn't a matter of one beat writer railing against Vigneault. If it wasn't enough to hear about fans booing the team, never a great vote of confidence, often a strong message to ownership, the prevailing criticisms seem to be about a perceived lack of effort. Then again, when you charge a team with a lack of compete, sometimes you're maybe ignoring other problems. Is AV just not the right fit for a team with quite a few young players of increasing importance? From Brady Skjei to Pavel Buchnevich to JT Miller, there's also the possibility that the Rangers are merely falling off the tightrope after walking it perilously last season. Much was made about this team's style overcoming shot metrics that didn't always lean their way, but with Henrik Lundqvist possibly showing his age and a few key scorers coming up dry so far, maybe this team is merely facing the reality of a so-so roster. Whether you want to place a lot or a little of the blame on Vigneault, it's often the coach that goes when a team is in a miserable situation. Sometimes problems fester to the point where that coach might welcome the reprieve, and it wouldn't be shocking if AV may feel some if that day comes. Sadly for Vigneault, it feels like that threat might not be far away. James O'Brien is a writer for Pro Hockey Talk on NBC Sports. Drop him a line at pitblog@nbcsports.com or follow him on Twitter at CycleLikeSettings. Player of the night: Blake Wheeler. The second hat-trick of Blake Wheeler's sorely underrated career is also the fastest trio in the history of the Atlanta Thrashers Winnipeg Jets. It's fitting to mention the Thrashers, as it might be tough to believe that Wheeler actually suited up for that woe-begotten rendition of the franchise. Wheeler had been productive in his previous 9 games with 8 points, but only one of them came via a goal, until Sunday's explosive stretch. In just 420 of time, the Jets scored 4 goals, and Wheeler scored 3 of them. Consider the Wheeler entry as a companion piece to Factoid of the Night, as he helped set some franchise marks during a first period that served as a rude introduction for Casey DeSmith and a short showing from Matt Murray. Highlight of the night: Blake Wheeler. Again, really, it's the third of Wheeler's 3 tallies that is the best highlight, as he makes Chris Letang look like an ordinary defenseman or a guy who's still fighting back from injury issues. Still, take a moment to soak in the impressiveness of his hat-trick, as he showed some Pavelskian hand-eye coordination on some deflections, too. Can we make Pavelskian a thing? Factoid of the night: not Wheeler division. After sitting out a month with wrist issues, Ryan Miller helped the Anaheim Ducks eke out a 43 shootout win against the Carolina Hurricanes on Sunday. That included an impressive 9 saves during overtime, but Miller also padded his shootout wins record, which might force us to consider shootouts Miller time. Scores and more: Ducks 4, Hurricanes 3, so more Jets 7, Penguins 1, more Flames 2, Capitals 1. Added bonus: a Getty Images shot of Wheeler still with the Jets and Ryan Miller with the Buffalo Sabres, to remind you that Wheeler's been at this a long time via Getty. James O'Brien is a writer for Pro Hockey Talk on NBC Sports. Drop him a line at pitblog@nbcsports.com or follow him on Twitter at CycleLikeSettings. Sunday night's brutal 7-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets attached a flashing, oversized arrow to a trend for the Pittsburgh Penguins so far this season. They've been awful closing out back-to-back sets. It's easy to explain some of that away. Read more about a special night for Blake Wheeler and a tough start for Casey DeSmith here. As defending champions, the Penguins have accrued more mileage than any other NHL team over the last 2 seasons. Those haven't been easy runs, either, and the bumps and bruises likely stack up even more when you consider how often Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are called upon for international play. That wasn't meant to twist the knife in deeper, Phil Kessel. The Penguins are still hanging in there with a .751 record, yet there are troubling signs from shoddy backup goaltending, a goal differential that's now fallen to 14, and these often lousy efforts in the second game of back-to-back sets. Just look at how they've looked so far in these situations. Penguins now 0-4-0 and outscored 297 in second game of back-to-backs this season. 101L versus CHI 54L versus TBL 71L versus TBL 71L versus WPG. Tom Galetta at Tom Gallatin Hill, October 30, 2017. Not ideal. The Penguins can't just brush this off as a minor issue, really. Pittsburgh ties the Ottawa Senators with a league-leading 19 back-to-back sets this season. The Pens still have 15 of such sets remaining in 201,718, with 3 sets coming in November, including an Oilers-Flames run to start the month. More teams that face the toughest and easiest schedules in 201,718 in a league rife with parity. Every team has to reconcile with how difficult it can be to make the most in a back-to-back. The sheer volume of the sets Pittsburgh must deal with makes it as worrisome an obstacle as the overall fatigue that comes with trying to climb that mountain again this season. This isn't necessarily to say that back-to-backs will cost the Penguins a playoff berth, but it may hurt them from a seeding standpoint. And having to fight hard merely to qualify for the postseason could really be a grind for a Penguins group that would be much better off finding pockets of the season to rest up. Some of this comes down to an intriguing challenge to Mike Sullivan, a head coach who's distinguished himself in embracing the Penguins' strengths by playing a fast, attacking style. Can Sullivan adjust to the many back-to-back sets, maybe even resting a star or two on the first night, or limiting what Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin deal with in each contest? Also, will GM Jim Rutherford unearth a backup option that Sullivan can trust rather than placing too much of a burden on Matt Murray? This isn't a dire situation, yet. Still, the repeat champs at least need to consider how they want to approach these challenges. Losing 71 more than once is an extreme result, but going without points too often can really hurt. James O'Brien is a writer for Pro Hockey Talk on NBC Sports. Drop him a line at pitblog@nbcsports.com or follow him on Twitter at CycleLikeSettings. You know how Mario Lemieux scored his first NHL goal during his first NHL shift in his first game. Pittsburgh Penguins goalie Casey DeSmith essentially experienced a reverse Lemieux on Sunday night. Matt Murray ended up getting the start against the Winnipeg Jets, but he was chased out of the net after allowing 4 goals in less than 20 minutes of play. That opened the door for DeSmith's debut, where he gave up Blake Wheeler's hat-trick goal. The first shot DeSmith faced ended up being an absolute beauty by Wheeler, and he soon saw hats littering the Jets' ice. Talk about a harsh introduction, although Wheeler's biggest victim on that play was probably a helpless Chris Letang. Speaking of harsh, one can imagine that Penguins head coach Mike Sullivan will share his thoughts with his team during the first intermission. Wheeler scored the fastest hat-trick in Jets history, collecting his 3 goals in a blistering 420 of play, part of a miserable showing from Matt Murray, 4 goals allowed on just 9 shots on goal. The Jets Thrashers' last hat-trick versus the Pens was by Ilya Kovalchuk. January 6, 2006. Thibaut Fleury and empty net gave up the goals. Seth Rorabaugh at Seth Rorabaugh, October 29, 2017. The Jets set team records in the first period for quickest 3 goals 34 and quickest 4 goals 420. Winnipeg Jets PR at WPGJETSPR, October 30, 2017. Here's video of the hat-trick. Pittsburgh fell 21 to the Minnesota Wild last night, so there's a question about how much the Penguins have left in the tank to push for an unlikely comeback. So far, the Jets look like their game. If nothing else, DeSmith should get some chances to pile up some saves. Speaking of getting saves, for some a night like this is just another reminder that Pittsburgh needs a more dependable backup. While we all know the defense has been dreadful, it's moments like these where a capable backup goalie can ease the pain of back-to-backs. Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, October 29, 2017. Update: the Jets ended up winning 71. For more on the Penguins' struggles closing out back-to-back sets, check this post. James O'Brien is a writer for Pro Hockey Talk on NBC Sports. Drop him a line at pitblog@nbcsports.com or follow him on Twitter at CycleLikeSettings. The Anaheim Ducks already had plenty of injuries to deal with heading into Sunday's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Now they must be concerned about Captain Ryan Getzlaf after he was clearly shaken up by a puck to the face. The Ducks used the phrasing that Getzlaf continues to be evaluated regarding an upper body injury. To little surprise, they also noted that he would not return to Sunday's match against the Hurricanes. Sportsnet tweeted a gif of the unfortunate bounce for Getzlaf and the Ducks. Getzlaf, 32, came into Sunday on a high note. He generated 3 assists in the Ducks' somewhat surprising win against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and had 7 points in his last 4 contests. On the bright side, the Ducks have an opportunity to rest, as their next game doesn't come until Wednesday. They play 9 of 11 games in Anaheim to begin November, so having Getzlaf on hand certainly would help them make the most of that stretch. Again, this is far from the only issue for Anaheim. Sami Vatanen was believed to be ready to play, but that fell through tonight. Cam Fowler and Ryan Kesler aren't expected to play again anytime soon. Kevin Beek says day-to-day with an issue, and Patrick Eaves is dealing with some frightening health problems. Ryan Miller just made his debut tonight. The Ducks seemed aware that this might be a tough start to the season thanks in part to injuries, so potentially losing Getzlaf for some time could be a problem. We'll see if there are any updates tonight, as the game is currently in the third period. Update: Anaheim managed to fight back for a win in this one, edging Carolina 43 via a shootout. James O'Brien is a writer for Pro Hockey Talk on NBC Sports. Drop him a line at pitblog@nbcsports.com or follow him on Twitter at CycleLikeSettings.